3 valleys away, in a hall of whitened gold, a man who would one day burn everything Rhen loved was bored. A messenger knelt and reported a small thing. A nobody outer disciple at the Falling Leaf sect had humiliated young Master Jiro and lived. The emissary almost did not care. Almost. The boy's name? He asked. Rhen Kasser, said the messenger. The emissary filed it away, the way a man notes a single ant before stepping over it. In 10 years, that name would cost the Goldspire Alliance everything. Tonight, it was nothing at all, and closer to home, inside the Falling Leaf sect itself, another man was already rotting from within, Elder Vopskiran. Inner court, trusted, and, in the life Rhen remembered, the man who would quietly open the sect's gate to its killers. No one suspected him, no one would for years. That was the trouble with traitors. They smiled at breakfast. Rhen knew all of it. He just could not prove a word of it yet. So he did what he did best. He waited, and he prepared. But first, he had a debt of a different kind to settle. The woman who had just demanded the truth. She had cornered him before morning chores, somewhere the sect's many ears could not reach. A 16-year-old outer disciple does not move like a battle master, Liara said. You read Jiro like an open scroll. Explain it. Rhen waited. The whole impossible truth would sound like madness. Or worse, like something to be sold to the highest bidder. So he gave her a truth, not the whole of it, a shard sharp enough to cut, small enough to carry. I dream, he said. I have always dreamed of fire, of this sect in ash, of the faces of the men who do it. It was true. It was simply not the whole shape of the truth. Let her think it prophecy. Prophecy, men could almost believe. Liara did not laugh. She had walked the Jianghu long enough to know the world held stranger things than a dreaming boy. And Jiro, she pressed. In the dream, Rhen said. He is the smallest of the wolves. There are worse coming. I am trying to be ready. Ready, she repeated. A boy who can barely hold a sword. For now, he said. And something in how he said it made her go still. She made her decision the way. She did everything. Fast. And all the way. Then here is my offer, Liara said. You tell me what you dream before it happens. I keep you alive long enough to matter. It was everything he had wanted, and it cost him something he had not expected to feel. Guilt, because he knew what knowing too much had cost everyone in his first life. He was about to spend her the way he spent everything. As a piece on a board, this will put you in danger, he warned her. One last time, Liara only smiled. I am a swordswoman of the Falling Leaf sect. I was born in danger. He took her hand, the first ally of his second life, and the first person he swore silently that he would not let die this time. It was a promise he had no idea how to keep. He made it anyway. First warning, Liara said, releasing his arm. All business again. What is coming that I should fear? Rhen thought of the ledger, of all the names and dates burned into his memory, and he chose the one that mattered most, the soonest. In 3 weeks, he said quietly, a disciple is going to die. They will call it a training accident. It will not be one. Who? Liara asked. Rhen looked toward the training yard, where the day's chores were beginning, and named a friend he had already buried once. Pelmot, he said. And across the yard, a broad, cheerful young disciple laughed at his own joke, alive and entirely unaware. In the life Rhen remembered, Pel had been the first friend he lost. A stupid, needless death he had been too weak to stop. Not this time. Rhen had 3 weeks, a frail body, and a lifetime of reasons not to fail. But saving anyone meant strength, and strength meant the one thing his body could barely survive. Cultivation. That night, when the dormitory slept, Rhen slipped to a cold storeroom behind the kitchens, somewhere no one would hear if it went wrong. He sat. He breathed, and he began to run a cultivation art that had once carried him to the peak of the Murim world. His mind knew every step of it perfectly. His body was a frayed candlewick trying to hold a bonfire. The chi came, thin at first, a trickle of white light winding up through channels that had never held real power. And then it came too fast. The old master's instincts reached for power the boy's meridians could not channel. Pain tore through him like white-hot wire pulled through every limb. His meridians screamed at the edge of shattering. He had watched greedy fools die exactly like this. He would not here. Not for nothing. With an iron act of will, he choked the flow down, slowed it, forced the bonfire back into a candle's flame. The light faded. He sat in the dark, drenched in sweat, shaking, alive. And in his core, a single new ember of true ki now glowed. One ember, after a full night that nearly killed him. It was almost nothing. It was everything. This was the cruel arithmetic of his second life. Decades of knowledge, a body that could spend it only one painful ember at a time. 3 weeks to save Pell. At 1 ember a night, he would not be strong enough. Not nearly. Which meant strength alone would not save anyone. He would have to do what he had always done best instead. He would have to be smarter than everyone who wanted his friend dead. So, over the days that followed, Rhen did 2 things at once. By night, he stole embers of chi from his own body, one by one. And by day, he wore his harmless mask, swept the courtyard, bowed to his seniors, and watched. Always watched. He watched how Pelmont trained. Reckless, eager, always first to volunteer for the dangerous drills no one else wanted. In the first life, that eagerness had killed him. A frayed safety rope on a high cliff drill. Everyone had called it bad luck. Rhen had never believed in bad luck. Not anymore. So he looked closer at who tied the ropes. Senior Brother Tan. Cruel, well-connected, and... Rhen now suspected, already quietly running small errands for Elder Vox. It was not a grand assassination. It never is, at the bottom. Just a careless cruelty by a man who would never be blamed. That was how Pell had died the first time. Not murdered by a villain, just discarded by one. Rhen meant to break the pattern entirely. He could not simply warn Pell. A nobody outer disciple babbling about doomed ropes would be mocked, or worse, noticed. He could not openly accuse Tan, not without proof, not without revealing how much he saw. The mask had to hold, so he would have to solve it sideways, quietly, in a way that left no fingerprints and no story for anyone to tell. Step 1 was simple, and it began with making a friend he had mourned for 20 years. You're Pell, yes? They say you never lose a sparring match in the outer court. Flattery, the oldest, easiest door. Pelmont was, Rhen remembered, almost impossible not to like. That was what had made losing him hurt so much the first time. Within days, they were friends, real ones, and it cut Rhen deeper than he had braced for, to laugh beside a dead man breathing. But friendship gave him a reason to be near the drills, to handle the equipment, to be the one who checked the ropes. And what Rhen found, 3 days before the date burned into his memory, turned his blood to ice. The frayed rope was already in place. The drill had been moved up. Pell was scheduled to climb tomorrow, not in 3 weeks. Tomorrow, the timeline had changed. His foreknowledge, the one true weapon he had just cracked, because he had already changed the future once. In that courtyard with Jiro, every change he made the ledger a little less true. It was the terrible price of his second chance. The more he saved, the blinder he became. He had one night, no plan, a body with a single cluster of chi, and a friend who would die at dawn. He could not replace the rope without being seen tampering. He could not cancel the drill without authority he did not have. But he was not without one card. He had a swordswoman who owed nothing and had promised everything. That night he found Liara and called in the pact. "The death I warned you of," he said. "It is not in 3 weeks. It is at dawn." Liara did not waste breath on doubt. "What do you need?" That, Rhen thought, was the whole worth of a true ally. "Authority," he said. "You are inner court. Order tomorrow's high drill cancelled for equipment inspection. No reason given but your rank. And if I am asked why, then we will have a different problem," Rhen said. "But Pell will be alive to see it." At dawn, Liara walked into the training yard and, on an inner disciple's authority, halted the high drill coal. Pell, already halfway up the platform on that frayed rope, climbed back down grumbling, alive and annoyed and gloriously unaware. It should have ended there, a life saved quietly with no fingerprints. But Senior Brother Tan was watching, and Tan was not stupid. "A strange thing," Tan said loudly, "for an inner sister to cancel a drill she has never once attended." Almost as if she were warned, every eye in the yard turned, and Rhen, sweeping quietly at the edge, felt the whole careful plan tilt toward the cliff. Tan's gaze swept the disciples and landed, with ugly instinct, on the new friendship everyone had noticed. On Pell, and on the nobody beside him. "You," Tan said to Rhen, "the lucky peasant who backtalks young masters. What do you know about cancelled drills?" Here was the knife edge. Reveal too much and the mask shattered. Cower too much, and Liara took the fall alone. Rhen chose a third road. He let his eyes go wide and frightened. The harmless boy again, and pointed a shaking hand right back at the frayed rope still hanging there. "I only told Sister Liara the rope looked wrong, Senior," he stammered. "I was afraid someone would fall. Was that wrong of me?" Every head turned up to the rope, and there it was for all to see, frayed nearly through, a death waiting to happen. Tied off by Tan's own crew, in one stroke, Rhen had turned the accusation inside out. Now it was not Liara who looked suspicious. It was the man who had tied the rope. "Careless," Liara said into the silence, seizing the opening like the warrior she was. "Someone could have died, Senior Brother Tan. See that it does not happen again." Tan had no move left but to swallow it, bow stiffly, and retreat with his cronies, humiliated and quietly, dangerously furious. Pell, blissfully unaware he had nearly died twice in 2 lifetimes, threw an arm around Rhen and declared him the bravest little brother in the sect. And Rhen let himself feel it just for a breath. He had changed it. A name he had carried as grief for 20 years was alive and laughing and safe. It was the first debt he had ever paid forward instead of in blood. It would not be the last. But a hunter learns to feel the eyes on his back, and as the yard emptied, Rhen felt new ones. Cold, patient. From above, on the high gallery, half in shadow, Elder Vox Garen stood watching the outer courtyard. He had seen the whole performance. Not the boy's fear. The elder had seen past that. He had seen the timing, the precision, the mind underneath the mask. "Curious," Vox murmured to no one. "A frightened nobody who arranges a frightened nobody's miracle. How very convenient." Rhen had spent his whole strategy on staying invisible to the men who mattered, and he had just, without meaning to, become visible to the worst of them. Their eyes met across the yard, the traitor and the man who would one day bury him, neither yet knowing the whole of the other. Vox smiled, the warm, false smile of a kindly elder, and gave the boy a small, approving nod, as if pleased by a clever pup. Rhen bowed back, meek and grateful, the perfect, harmless disciple. Inside, a single cold thought turned over. He had come back to bury Elder Vox among the first names in his ledger. He had not planned to draw the man's eye in week 1. The board had shifted again. His foreknowledge was fraying. His friend was alive, and the traitor was now watching the strange little disciple closely. That night, Rhen sat in the cold storeroom and breathed, and added one more painful ember to the fire in his core. Saving Pell had cost him his invisibility. Fine. Every choice cost something. He simply made sure it bought more than it spent. Liara found him before dawn, as she would many times in the years to come. "Your dream," she said. "It was right." "To the day, it was," Rhen said. He did not tell her it would not always be now, that every life he saved blinded him a little more to the next. "Then dream more," Liara said simply, and left him to the dawn. One ally, one saved friend, one watching traitor. The board was set. Rhen Costa had come back to collect a ledger of the dead. He was starting, instead, to build a ledger of the living. He did not yet know which would cost him more. The first living name was saved. The first true enemy had noticed. and 10 years still stood between Rhen and the fire. The ledger turned its page.